Over the past few weeks and in the ones to come, you'll likely find yourself at a holiday gathering surrounded by an abundance of delicious food and drinks. And then it happens. Someone offers you yet another serving of something indulgent, and you're torn between accepting to keep the peace or saying no and risking feeling awkward or rude. Here's the truth. You can fully embrace the celebration and savor every joyful moment and still stay true to your boundaries without an ounce of guilt. In today's episode, we're diving into how to politely decline that extra helping or that festive drink with confidence and kindness. You'll learn how to handle food pushes gracefully and stick to your preferences and navigate the season with a balance that leaves you feeling empowered and fulfilled. So let's make this holiday season one of joy and ease. Welcome to the Thriving Metabolism. I'm Louise Digby, your host, and it is my mission to empower you so that you and your metabolism thrives and you never have to go through diet misery again. I don't know about you, but I definitely struggle a little bit with the amount of food that is pushed at me through the holidays. And I struggle a little bit because I'm kind of torn between feeling very privileged that I'm in an environment where food is abundant and I'm surrounded by people who love me and want to express that love by giving me lots of food. But also, I know that it doesn't make me feel good. It doesn't make me feel good digestion wise. It doesn't make me feel good when my trousers are getting tighter, when I feel really sluggish and fatigued because I've stuffed myself. And it can be difficult to find that happy middle ground of allowing yourself some indulgences, enjoying the moment, enjoying and savoring the foods without making yourself feel rubbish or making yourself feel like you've undone a lot of the hard work that you've been doing over the past few months. And particularly for women in this mid-stage of life, weight loss progress can be very slow, but the weight regain can be rapid. And it can feel really disheartening to undo that. And I know a lot of women really struggle with some anxiety around the festive season because they're worried about not being able to stay on track with their goals or really wanting to avoid undoing all of that hard work. So learning how to find that happy middle ground, which will look different for everyone, by the way. Your happy middle ground will be different to everyone else's in the room. But learning to find that happy middle ground and how to say no to people who are constantly pushing you to have just one more serving or finish off that bowl of spuds or finish off the last bit of Baileys or whatever it might be. Learning how to say no to that in a way which is respectful and grateful and doesn't feel rude is really, really helpful to get you through these seasons. I think the first thing to acknowledge here is that the holiday season, it can often feel like it's all about the food. And don't get me wrong, I certainly look forward to a lot of the festive foods that get rolled out at this time of year. But it can feel like that's all there is. But actually, there's, of course, so much more to the season. And I think pivoting our focus to enjoying the connections, the laughter, the games, and hopefully the downtime and the rest time as well. Maybe if you're getting a break from work, focusing on that rather than putting all of your focus on the food can help you to still really relish the holidays whilst also saying no to some of these treats, and still help you to feel like you're getting enjoyment and pleasure out of the holidays without that having to come from food. So perhaps we can shift the focus from how much food we're having to how much fun are we having, and focus gatherings on how can we incorporate more fun, more connection, more laughter, more silliness, as opposed to what treats do I need to have on hand for my guests. Of course, we want to make sure we feed them well, but at the same time, bringing the memories, making sure those memories come from fun and laughter as opposed to the food, is one way of making sure that you have amazing gatherings without feeling like you have to really overstock the cupboards, because when we do that, we end up eating the leftovers, which inevitably there always are, eating those leftovers for weeks and weeks and weeks afterwards. And sometimes we can end up eating those things and overeating those things just to get them out of the cupboards, which isn't a good thing either. So managing how much we're buying is really key. And I think one of the things that goes into that is focusing on the fun rather than focusing on the food. Now, I want to take a second to talk about mindful indulgence. I don't want you to think that I'm saying that you shouldn't be having that mince pie, you shouldn't be having that Quality Street, the Baileys, whatever it might be. But it's about indulging in those things mindfully and savoring them, enjoying them, and eating them slowly, noticing the flavors and taking your time with them. Because when we do that, they hit the spot more and we feel more satisfied from having those things, and then we're less likely to overindulge on them. So it's not about not having these things, it's about making sure that we actually give our brain the chance to acknowledge that we've had the thing and we've enjoyed it, because then it's less likely that we're going to overindulge on it. And also, it's more likely that your brain is going to feel satisfied. You're going to recognize that you've had that thing and you're going to feel better and feel more satisfied from it. And along with this, it's okay to have seconds. Again, it's not about restricting what you eat, it's more about being mindful. And if you have a plate of food and you've eaten it mindfully, you've tried to eat slowly, you've made sure that you've got a bit of protein in there to keep you nice and full up and help your brain get that fullness signal. If you've done all that and then perhaps given it 10-15 minutes to make sure that you've had time to digest, by all means go up and get more if you're still genuinely hungry. But taking your time, giving your body time to recognize that fullness signal can just help you to, again, not overindulge. It's so easy to overdo it. I find, particularly around the holiday season, you're more likely to have a spread of food in the middle where you help yourself to the cauliflower cheese and the potatoes and all those things. And it's just so easy to just grab a bit more. So setting yourself a little boundary of having a plate full and then eating obviously as much as you want, and then taking a moment to ensure that you understand what your body's telling you at that time. Are you full up, or are you just eating because there's food in front of you and it was really tasty and you want more of it, perhaps because you didn't take the time to savor it in the first place? So as I say, it's just about being mindful. But if you do go for those seconds, do not feel guilty about it. There is no benefit, there's no advantage to dwelling on it and feeling guilty. It just actually makes us more likely to overindulge even more when we feel guilty, because we're more likely to reach for those comfort foods to soothe that guilt. So if you're going to go for seconds, then do it with confidence, don't feel guilty about it, and just get on with your life. So let's talk about how to say no. There can be a lot of pushing of food around this time of year, and often it can come from very well-meaning people who really like to express their love and their affection with food. So when you say no and you reject that food, sometimes it can feel like you're rejecting their love. It might feel like you're doing that. It might feel like that to you, or you might worry that that's how they feel. So coming up with ways of saying no when we want to. It doesn't mean we always have to say no, but saying no sometimes is quite empowering and helps to prevent those feelings of sluggishness and over fullness and digestive discomfort when we know we're at the limit. So first of all, express gratitude. Say thank you so much. That looks amazing. Express your appreciation in some way before you decline the food. What we don't want to feel is ungrateful. And sometimes I think the way that we're raised, where we are taught to, obviously be grateful, particularly when food may have been scarce in the past, it can feel really hard saying no. So expressing gratitude is a really nice way to keep the rejection very positive. And you can also, just redirect them and say, oh, actually, I'm going to save room for dessert. Or you could say something like, oh, that was so amazing. I don't have any room for any more, but could you wrap up a little bit for me to take home? If they really, really want you to have it. You can also use humour and lightheartedness. You can say something like, oh my gosh, if I had one more bite, then I'm not going to make it to the dance floor. I'm not going to be able to cope with playing games later. You'll find me asleep on the sofa. So use some humour to lighten the mood. And you could also say things like, oh, it was so good. I want to make sure everyone has a try. I don't want to be greedy and eat it all. You could say something like that, whatever makes sense for the situation. But you basically just want to wrap up your rejection with compliments and gratitude, and then it will probably go down a lot better. And sometimes I'll say things like, actually, I'm just getting a little bit of heartburn, so I'm not going to eat anymore. It's not true, but it's a way to stop getting people to keep passing you the food. So it doesn't hurt to tell a little white lie if that's the easiest way for you to say no. Sometimes you might have someone who's just really persistent and won't take no for an answer. Definitely been in that situation. And they think they're well-meaning and they maybe want to feed you up, or they just want you to clear the table. Whatever their intention is, they can be pretty pushy about it. And you've just got to shut that down, and you might just say, look, it's so good, but honestly, I need to pace myself. I'm so stuffed. Or you can say something like, I know you worked really hard on this meal and I loved it, but I am just so full. I just don't have any more space right now. Super simple, but sometimes we need to remind ourselves that we can say no. And remember, setting these boundaries isn't just about our weight. It's not just about overindulging and the consequences that might bring. It's also about allowing yourself to remain fully present and enjoy the moment. When we overindulge, not only can it make us feel physically uncomfortable, but it can also leave us feeling riddled with guilt and regret. And all of that takes us away from actually enjoying the moment, enjoying the fun times with the family or the Boxing Day walk or whatever it might be. So remember that it's not only about the long-term goals, but it's also about you enjoying the moment. And whilst you might feel like saying yes to all of those lovely foods helps you to enjoy the moment, it can also detract from you being present in the moment because of the very quick implications of, things like heartburn and indigestion and bloating, and could be an upset stomach or whatever it might be that can come from just overdoing it a little bit. So just remind yourself of that. It's all about making sure you get the absolute most out of the holidays. I think the most important thing is that I want to come back to this thing about guilt. There's no point in us feeling guilty, but also want to make sure we don't guilt trip others. Sometimes when we are saying no to things because we're trying to respect our own boundaries, it could be be very easy to make others feel like they are being greedy or overindulging. And so we really want to make sure that we are just focusing on ourselves, focusing on our own goals, and not pushing that on anyone else, because everyone's on their own journeys, and it certainly never helps to feel like someone else is judging you. So focus on your own goals and your own reasons, but also remember that it's not about perfection, certainly during the holiday season. It's just about fun. So do what you need to do. Try to set some boundaries for yourself. Try to stick to those boundaries. But if you break them or you overstep them, don't worry about it. We have to practice. We have to practice when it comes to sticking to boundaries. Outside of the holiday season, I often talk about setting boundaries around work-life balance and not allowing your work to spread into your evenings or the time when you should be focusing on your family or your self-care. And certainly getting to the point where you're able to have very clear work time and home time or lifetime, or whatever you want to call it, takes practice. So it's the same with these types of situations where we're surrounded by family and we're having to set boundaries, we're having to say no. So don't worry if you don't do it perfectly. You will certainly become better at it as you practice it more. And remember that saying no is really an act of self-care. There's many things that we do to try and look after ourselves, to protect our health, to protect our well-being, and saying no to many of the treats that are pushed to us, or it might not even be treats, it might just be the quantity of food. Saying no to some of these things is an act of self-care to protect your well-being. And now I want to give you a powerful opportunity to continue your health success in 2025. If you're tired of the same old cycle of frustration and guilt around your health goals, I've got something that will help you break free. On the 6th of January 2025, I'm hosting a game-changing masterclass that will teach you how to lose that stubborn belly fat and keep it off for good. No gimmicks, no fads, just real sustainable results. In just 7 days, you'll be able to lose up to 3 inches around your belly and, more importantly, develop the healthy habits that will support you throughout the year. My goal for you is creating a plan that fits your life so that you can look and feel amazing in 2025 and beyond. Are you ready to start the new year with confidence and clarity? Then don't wait. Sign up for the masterclass now at bit.ly/F_the_Menno_belly. And you can find that link in the show notes, and you'll also find it on my Instagram, link in bio, by searching at Louise Digby Nutrition on Instagram. So let's kick off the year with a plan that actually works. For now, I want you to remember that keeping track of your goals doesn't mean you have to miss out on the fun or the joy of the season. Life's too short to be weighed down by frustration or guilt over every decision. It's about finding balance and enjoying the moments that matter without letting the pressure of perfection steal your peace. The holidays are about connection, laughter, memories, and so much more. Don't let your focus on health or boundaries take away from the joy of simply being present. Have grace with yourself, knowing you're doing your best. So go ahead, enjoy the festive moments, savor the laughter, and remember that it's okay to embrace the season without regret.